You think you know yourself pretty well. You've got your quirks, your habits, your little ways of moving through the world. But what if I told you that some of the things you do every single day, things that feel completely automatic and natural, are actually your mind's way of protecting you from wounds you may not even remember receiving? These aren't personality traits. These are silent signals. And by the time we reach number 4 on this list, something is going to click for you in a way that might change how you see everything. Let's go. Number 9. You say sorry constantly, and you don't even notice you're doing it. Sorry for asking a question, sorry for needing something, sorry for simply being in the room. You've probably been told you apologize too much, and you laughed it off, or said sorry about that too. But this pattern has a name. It's called fawning, and it's recognized as a legitimate trauma response, sitting right alongside fight, flight, and freeze. When you grew up in an environment where having needs was dangerous, where speaking up meant backlash, your nervous system found a workaround. Make yourself invisible, shrink down. Apologize before anyone can get upset. The problem is, that lesson gets baked into you so deeply that decades later, you're still apologizing to strangers, to coworkers, to people who have never threatened you once. Your body hasn't gotten the memo that the original danger is gone. Number 8. You are completely unreadable in a disaster, and everyone around you finds it impressive. Fire breaks out, you're already moving. Someone has a medical emergency, you're the one with clear eyes while others freeze. You handle chaos with a kind of mechanical efficiency that people admire. But here's what's actually happening. You're not naturally calm. Calm suggests peace. What you have is a nervous system that was trained in environments where crisis was the default setting. Normal is supposed to feel safe and quiet. For you, normal was unpredictable and threatening. So when the world around you explodes, something in you actually settles. Because finally, the outside world matches what your insides have always felt. That's not a superpower. That's a wound wearing a cape. Number 7. You stockpile things. Maybe it's food that goes untouched in a cabinet. Maybe it's emergency cash tucked somewhere no one knows about. Multiple chargers, backups for your backups, supplies for scenarios that will probably never happen. People might tease you about it. You might laugh and call yourself a prepper, but underneath that habit lives a very old fear of being left without. When someone experiences scarcity growing up, whether that's financial, emotional, or physical, the brain develops a deep, almost primal drive to make sure it never gets caught empty-handed again. The stockpiling isn't about the stuff, it's about trying to manufacture a sense of security that never quite arrives, no matter how much you accumulate. Because the threat your brain is preparing for doesn't live in the external world anymore. It lives inside your own nervous system. Number 6. You struggle to receive help graciously. Someone offers you a hand, and you immediately start calculating your debt. A friend picks up the check, and you're already planning 3 ways to pay them back double. Someone does you a small favor, and you feel a low hum of anxiety that doesn't go away until you've returned it somehow. You might think this is just your personality, that you like to be self-sufficient. But often, what's really underneath this pattern is a learned understanding that kindness comes at a cost. If people in your past offered help and then used it later as leverage or manipulation, your brain very wisely concluded that accepting anything from anyone creates vulnerability. So instead, you carry everything alone. You refuse to need people, and all that independence keeps you safe, but also keeps you isolated from the genuine connection you actually want. Number 5. With people you've just met, you either tell them your entire life story within 20 minutes, or you reveal virtually nothing even after knowing them for years. No middle gear, one extreme or the other. And both of those extremes are rooted in the same broken place. When nobody ever taught you what healthy emotional boundaries feel like, you either have none at all, or you've built walls so tall that nobody gets close enough to hurt you. The oversharing is a desperate search for someone to finally understand your pain. The silence is self-protection after learning that vulnerability gets used against you. Neither approach actually delivers what you're really looking for, which is genuine connection. And real connection only lives in a middle space that trauma never let you discover. Number 4. You test the people you care about. You pull away to see if they'll reach out. You start conflicts to see if they'll leave. You push boundaries just to watch what happens next. And then when they finally get tired and walk away, some part of you feels like that confirms what you always suspected. that you were too much, that you were too broken to be worth staying for. But here's the truth that cuts deep. You're not testing people because you're toxic. You're testing people because every significant person in your early life eventually abandoned you or let you down, and your brain built a system to screen for that as early as possible. The tragedy is, this system almost guarantees the very outcome you're most afraid of. You push people away to see if they'll stay, and eventually, most of them don't. Number 3. Sitting still feels almost physically wrong to you. Rest triggers guilt. A day with nothing scheduled fills you with a creeping anxiety that something is terribly wrong. You stay busy, not because you love productivity, but because stopping means your mind finally goes quiet, and quiet is where the difficult things live. Many trauma survivors learned early on that stillness was unsafe. Maybe being busy was the only way you earned approval. Maybe being idle meant becoming a target for someone's anger. So your nervous system wired productivity and constant motion as survival behaviors. And even now, when you genuinely need rest, your brain screams that slowing down is the same as falling apart. Dr. Gabor Mate talks about how compulsive behaviors are often just pain avoidance in disguise. Busyness is one of the most socially rewarded versions of that. Number 2. Sustained eye contact makes you feel exposed in a way that goes far beyond simple shyness. When someone looks at you a beat too long, something in your chest tightens. You look away, not because you're being dismissive, but because being truly seen feels threatening. There's actually a psychological term for this, called gaze aversion, and it's frequently observed in people who have experienced relational trauma. Eye contact requires a degree of trust and safety that trauma quietly demolishes. If the people who were supposed to see you and love you were the same people who hurt you, your nervous system learned to close that window permanently. You're not being rude when you look away. You're following a very old survival instruction. And number 1, sometimes you look in the mirror and feel genuinely disconnected from the person staring back at you, like you're watching yourself from somewhere slightly behind your own eyes. This is dissociation, and it's one of the most profound and least talked about legacies of deep trauma. When emotional or physical pain becomes truly unbearable, the mind has an extraordinary ability to detach, to step back from the experience, to go somewhere else entirely, just to survive the moment. Over time, that detachment can become a default state. You float through life, managing everything from a slight distance from yourself. Dr. Bessel van der Kolk dedicated his life's work to explaining exactly why the body holds on to trauma in ways the conscious mind can't always access. Dissociation is the brain's most extreme act of self-preservation. Here's what I need you to sit with for a moment. Every single one of these habits, the apologizing, the hypervigilance, the hoarding, the walls, the testing, the busyness, the avoidance, the disconnect, none of these things make you broken. They make you someone who found a way to survive something that would have shattered a less resourceful person. Your nervous system was just doing its job. The problem is, it never got the news that the worst is over. And the most powerful thing you can do right now is not to hate these patterns in yourself, but to see them clearly for what they actually are. Not character flaws, not permanent damage, signals from a part of you that has been working overtime for a very long time, waiting for you to finally come home. Recognition is where healing begins. You just took the first step.